Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
What is religion? What do you see as religion?
I think religion is something that you believe in. It could be anything. I don't think that it has to be something with a god or something like that. But I think it's a really difficult question to answer. So I think it's different for everyone. I think it has to be something that you can put your trust in, and something that guides you through difficult decisions, and something that you feel supported by.
What is religion? Yes, it's difficult. It's a feeling. I think you believe in something. Don't know what.
Okay. And what is belief then?
Something that makes you strong.
I once actually had a course on religion, and one thing I learned is that you can't really define it.
Oh, that's a difficult question. Well, it's believing something more than something above us.
Believing in one or many gods, I think.
Religion is believing. Well, you want a short answer, so
Yes.
that's the most.
What is believing then?
Yeah. Having hope in the future, whenever that may be, before or after death, and a way of living with other people.
Because I'm from the religious area, like a lot of minority group, they believe as they are Muslim. So a lot of people ask me, do you have a religion? So I always tell them, like drinking is my religion, because I can enjoy it.
Hello, my name is Coltrane Stag.
Hi, my name is Delilah Rivera.
And I'm Dustin.
Hi, my name is Gavin Sharkey.
My name is Martin.
My name is Maxwell.
My name is Neil, and this is Youth on Subjects of the World. And today we are going to be talking about organized religion.
Oops.
So, first, how about we talk about religion in general? So who would like to start off? Maybe the definition of religion, or what our opinion on religion is.
Religion in general. It's like a system of learning, if you will. System of spiritual learning. But there are different aspects of it. Like there's the spiritual aspect of it, but then there's the social order aspect of it. And that kind of differs between religions in one sense. But I would suggest that all of like the main world religions, they have the same or similar spiritual teachings, but they differ in their social teachings, their social order. And that's because I think that each age of people have different needs. Like, so in a way, the social teachings of an old religion don't necessarily apply to us in the same way today as it may have, you know?
So I guess what I think of religion is I don't really identify with a certain religion. I will proudly say that I have no idea what happens, how this was done, how this was created, and what happened when we got anything. Because anybody who says, I know, either they're lying or they're ignorant. Because nobody really knows. If you say you know, you're ignorant or you're lying. It's as simple as that. Because we do not know.
So are you agnostic or atheist?
Yes.
Or, yeah, I'm also agnostic. It's kind of, because it's kind of just, it's like atheist, but it's not as definite. It's kind of like, I don't believe in anything, but I would if there was something to believe in or something like that. It's kind of just, but it's not like atheism where it's no religion, period.
The definition of an agnostic is they reject the notion that you can prove that God exists or not exists.
Yeah.
So an agnostic believes that it cannot be proven, at least, in our time, right now, if God exists or if God does not exist. So right now, as I am, I'm like, I don't think there's some magical, imaginary friend in the sky planning for me and that created me. But, if let's just take Christianity as an example. If Jesus Christ comes down and says, hey, I'm real, I'd be like, praise the Lord, I'm a Christian now. So if I get proof, absolutely, I'll convert right there and then.
If I may say, you're only really talking about one religion, and that's Christianity.
No, I'll just use that as an example that if I have proof of any sort of religion, then I will convert
But the
to that
way you're
religion.
talking about it sounded a lot like Christianity. Anywho,
I was using
the
that
Dawala are Buddhist, but pretty much everyone else on my mom's side and my dad's side are Christian, or really, I don't know, because they don't really show any signs of anything, but we're pretty much neutral. Yeah. Anything to say on the matter, Dawala?
If you think about it, all religions are the same thing. Well, not. It's like,
They're all built on the same foundation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I am more of a Christian, but I'm open to anything. Kind of similar to Neil and Gavin. Like, my beliefs more identify with the standard Christian beliefs, but I'm open to anything, and I'm not going to get into an argument about who's real and who's not.
I'm not really religious. I'm not part of any religion, but I've heard of some religions that I think seem like cool, but I don't know a whole lot about all the religions. I don't know about like the technicalities and all the different things about them, but from what I've heard, I think Buddhism seems a very nice religion, and Christianity seems pretty cool as well, but I don't identify as either.
So does anybody else have something to say about what religion means to them? Okay, go.
So me and Martin are actually of the same church congregation, and I do follow a similar belief, kind of skepticism as religion is. I can follow it. I follow it more for the kind of values and morals it puts up there, and I do enjoy it. And there is a lot of cultural aspects to religion as a whole, where it can be seen in music, TV, pop culture, books, art, as it's a part of a lot of things, and it can be used for a lot of things. And so, I mean, the belief that there is a higher being is something that has been a part of all our culture as a whole. And I also am a part of that system of believing. Whether it's 100% true, I need to really hold off and just think about it. I don't want to say no quite yet, and I don't want to say absolutely.
So I guess so I never really thought, I'm talking about in the past, really about what religion was, what anything was. I just kind of existed. I didn't really think about it. But I ended up, I thought about, probably, there was a time when I just kept thinking, if there is a God, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Or if there isn't a God, why does this happen? Why does this happen? So I ended up thinking that I don't know. And I think that religion was created or maybe, because the thing is, no matter what, even if you are part of this religion, you can't deny that unless you're like a part of every religion, I don't know how that would work, but you have to say that, this religion isn't exactly, true, but this religion, is or isn't, or all religions are true. Bottom line is, I think the reason religion was created, or maybe certain religions were created, was because humans always have questions. They always need answers. That's a consequence of our, brilliant minds. So I think one of the reasons this happened was because we didn't have the means to answer certain questions. That was because if you think about it, not knowing what happens when you die, because dying is a scary thing to probably most people, other than public speaking, which I find weird. So dying, it's a scary thing to most people. So without any means to research or any sort of other thinking about it, I believe that religion was a very viable alternative for answers on how we were created, why we're here in this huge world, and what happens to us when our bodies cease to function.
I agree that is a good way to put it. Yeah, because that is true. That as people, we need questions answered. So religion just comes as a side effect of that. I'm pretty much repeating what you're saying, but yeah, you're exactly right.
Some would argue that religion doesn't come from man. They would argue that it's sent down from the greater intelligence into a human form in order to answer those kinds of questions, but also define what it means to be a human being. The fact that we have moral and spiritual capacities, unlike the other things in our world, that just they're compelled to go through the world and follow their instincts. We have a certain capacity, a choice between good and evil, like what we were talking about in the last show.
I think what you're trying to define empathy. Are you trying to say empathy? That's another side effect from our brilliant brain. We have the ability to put, so to speak, ourselves in another person's shoes and say, would I want to be in that situation?
I think that empathy is a part of our spiritual, our moral compass, if you will. And with that, we can tell, we get feelings of, this isn't quite right. Something's wrong about this situation. Or that thing that tells us, just go for it, just do it, just do this thing, whatever it is. But I think that I'm trying to organize my thoughts here. I think that there are two different ways of kind of going about life. We can follow our natural instincts like the other animals and other things in the world, but there's also a yeah, like a moral standard that we have because we're able to perceive it. And I think religion not necessarily being a branch of that human need of to express our moral character, but it serves as a defining point for what we can strive to be. I don't know, my thoughts are kind of jumbled right now.
Religion is really complicated because some religions are just so different from one another. In like, I don't know, religions are pretty weird, but also pretty cool.
So I think my opinion on religions themselves, it differs. So I think people need to understand there's a huge difference. There's religion, the people that follow said religion, and then there are people at the top and the head of the religion. So the religion, see, a lot of people that don't like religions themselves, and they like a certain type of religion, they will think they will automatically dislike the followers. But you need to understand that a lot of people, they choose, okay, I want to be this religion, I want to be this religion, but a humongous amount of people, the way that they became that said religion was when they were born, their parents were, not saying all, I'm saying this is a large amount, their parents were this religion, were said religion, and they became that religion, yet they didn't really, and a lot of people, they don't take the time to study the holy text of that religion. So me living in the United States of America, obviously more Christians than anything else that I interact with. So I'm going to use a personal example. So I have this, so people that I know that identify as Christians, they don't really read their holy, I'm not saying if you're this religion, you need to read your holy scripture, or you're a hypocrite, you're this or that. I'm saying I find it, I'll use the word interesting, that they believe this is why the universe was created, this is how the universe was created, this is what's going to happen when I'm dying. They have so specific thoughts when they didn't even read the holy text. And I find that interesting more than anything else. And what I also find interesting is the complexity of religion due to the fact that there really is no hardcore proof. So let me give an example. People say, follow faith, follow faith. The definition of faith is the belief in something without any proof, which is why no matter what you follow a religion. So technically a religion, you don't need faith to follow a religion if you've had proof that that religion exists. Faith technically is a separate entity to religion. Faith and religion are normally used interchangeably. But faith is, again, the belief in something without any proof or evidence. And that is why I don't like the idea of faith itself, the definition of the word, due to the fact that you don't need any evidence. And I'm a person where I think if you want to prove something, if you want to bring an argument to the table, I'm personally, for me to believe in something, I need evidence and proof.
All right. So I think we stayed on that subject for long enough. How about we go to what is the opinion on, I don't know, newer religions, those that have popped up? I mean, are they considered the same as, the religions, the older religions, or are the newer religions like, can they hold the same thing as torch as the other older religions?
Well, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster is one of the newer ones. I don't know the exact year it was created, but I looked into that religion a little bit, and it seems like it's pretty weird. Like how they've got a giant flying spaghetti monster as the god of their religion or entity or whatever. It's pretty strange, but it's pretty cool as well, because it's not necessarily that all of them, all Pastafarians, which I think is what they're called, that all of them actually believe in a giant flying spaghetti monster, because that's kind of silly. But a lot of them, it's just like, I find the religion funny because it kind of shows that anything can be a religion. Like a flying spaghetti monster, that can be a religion, as long as people believe that it is one. I think it's really cool.
I was gonna say Church of the Jedi Order, or Jediism, as it is called. There was a legal case about it a while ago, and it was actually kind of funny because a lot of the legal documentation had quotes from the movies in it. But it's one of those beliefs that a lot of it is focused around morals. I actually been to their website because it's quite fun to enjoy. Quite fun to research other kinds of things you've never been really introduced to. But it's interesting to see. It's if you've played a Star Wars game or gotten into the deeper lore of it, you've seen the same kind of like, oh, it's about believing in these kinds of values and morals so that you can become on the light side of the Force, which is kind of their cosmic being, similar to a god, kind of like that. And certain things will lend you to the dark side of the Force, and you want to be as beneficial as you can to society as a whole, so you can be on the light side.
That sounds really cool, actually. I've never heard of that one before, but it sounds cool.
So I think what fuels religion is belief. A religion can't really exist without without followers to believe in it. Because whether you like it or not, a religion exists through people believing in it. So if everybody were to stop believing in a major religion, because religion, we have to understand that we define things, right? And if nobody there is to follow a certain religion, it ceases to exist. And some people would argue that that would be a good thing, because a lot of what people argue is that religion is holding society back. That religion is holding scientific progression back. It's holding this back, and it's holding social progression back. Some people argue that, and they also argue that because then a counter would maybe a counter would be, well, what about, because this is a counter that some people give. They say, well, where are you going to get your morals from? And they say that we actually don't need religion for, this is what people are saying, you don't need religion for morals, because morals come from inside our head, and they come from higher brain function, again, empathy. So what do we think about that? Is religion holding society back? And if it's not, what benefits is it providing?
Well, it is in some cases holding society back, at least. Like if you look at, like they're commonly, okay, I'm going to talk about Christianity because we're in America. Like Christianity's views on like gay people and trans people, or just the LGBT community. In that sense, it is, because when you have like right-wing people, conservatives who tend to be Christians, honestly, that's a generalization, but it's kind of true. And they run the country. It takes long because they have these beliefs that are anti-gay, anti-trans stuff will be put into action that will set us back because of those beliefs. And that sucks, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and other places, what immediately comes to mind are places that have Sharia law enforced.
Yeah.
That is definitely much worse than anything Christianity is doing right now, currently in America, where if you read some of the things on Sharia law, it's frankly pretty horrifying. So in some cases, religion definitely is holding back society. So what about in more things, and in general, any other opinions on other religions holding society back, or yes, or is religion in general holding society back?
You go.
I think in regards to religion holding society back, it's important to consider that as human beings, we can go in any direction that we want. We can do the most cruel things. We can invent the most cruel sciences. We can go any direction we want. So is it necessary for the advancement of society, much like an example of a workout routine? You have to dedicate yourself to a certain routine in order for you to make advances, in order for you to build muscle in this case. And just like with religion and humanity, if we don't define ourselves, if we don't limit down ourselves in some direction, where are we going to go? Where ultimately I think we would destroy ourselves, because there wouldn't be any agreement, and people would continue to invent harmful sciences to humanity, and ultimately that's basically what the world has been so far, and that's why we're in so much struggle right now, is because people don't agree.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is, you don't agree with my thing? Well, I'm going to kill you. That'll make it better. So you see that's a universal thing in all of history that's happening right now. Oh, you don't agree with this? Well, okay, well, I'm going to shoot you in the face. So there's definitely in history a lot of violence surrounding religion, and now with extremist religions, extreme religions following Islam. So, and, for example, Christianity, the KKK, you'll see these extremists, and it's all because of disagreements and not believing the same thing. And people would argue that, well, if we didn't have religion, we wouldn't have all these huge, horrible crises because religion is the main source of this disagreement.
Well, what I was going to say was America itself was established on religion. It was the Protestant people trying to separate themselves from Christianity, and they basically went on the Mayflower as pilgrims, went to undiscovered, uncharted territory, and they basically settled there, established there, and then separated themselves from British colonies, and then developed themselves into this nation. This was based off of religious dispute. So, I mean, with most conflict, I think there is negatives to it. There are going to be people's lives who are going to be sacrificed, but I think sometimes there can be some benefits coming from disagreement as a whole. Not everything has to end up poorly.
So religion. So when America was founded on secular principles because they were fleeing persecution from the British. So that's, it was founded as a secular state. And a lot of times you will see people preaching about how, so what I found interesting, keeping that in mind, is when people accused Barack Obama of being a Muslim. And I thought to myself, well, I don't think he's a Muslim. He hasn't had any, I haven't seen any proof of him being a Muslim. And then I thought to myself, I don't think it really matters if he's a Muslim or not, because this country is a secular state. So Muslims should be able to come into power, whether or not you agree with their religious texts, or you agree that it's not a good religion, or you agree that a lot of their followers are extremists. So let's just get one thing straight really quick. Out of all the religions, there's no religion where every single follower is an extremist who is willing to do horrible things. Let's get that straight really quick. So I just want to get that straight real fast. So even if this religion, you think that this religion, oh my gosh, it's so hateful. It's such a hateful religion. It's promoting nothing but hate and violence. Not every member is, a hateful, horrible person. There are people, who are born in America who are Muslims, American citizens, American-born citizens. There are people who are Muslims who are willing to do horrible things. There are people who are Christians who are, just regular people. And then there are people that believe in white supremacy and they would like to be in the KKK. So I just want to get one thing straight. When we're talking about religion, and if at any time we say, oh, this religion does this, we're not saying that if you're a follower of this religion, you must be this. You must be a horrible person. You must be a horrible person.
The thing about how America was formed, I would say that if there was unity within society, that we wouldn't have felt the need to even come over here. So, and in turn, we ended up destroying a whole culture and society that was here in the first place. So you have to think, like, is it, like, what are the benefits and what are the cons of this whole situation? I mean, I think that America, the United States, is ultimately something, it's ultimately based on just ideals, freedom, religious freedom, freedom to be how you want to be. And and I think we're a leader in the world with that ideal. But as far as like strife being a cause of something that was ultimately beneficial, it's also a bit different today than it used to be. Like, today we are able to communicate from people all around the world in an instant. And so we don't really have the same problems as cultures of the past, because now our focus in humanity is to become one planet, one society, one, just working together in harmony. And I think cultures of times past, they didn't have that luxury. So when they were oppressed, they moved and they had to leave. But we're already all spread out now. We've traveled across all the world. We've made our bases in every land. So what's the next step for us? And I think that is the unity of the planet. And so that way we can ultimately move to other planets and do the same thing.
Yeah, so I guess then my beliefs would definitely pretty much align with yours, because I am first and foremost globalist. I think we need to have globalization. I think we all need to unite, because these petty squabbles are stupid. We're just killing each other when humanity should stand strong, united. And again, some people argue that religion is preventing us from doing that by causing more conflict and disagreement.
Yeah. Hi. I think we should change the subject. Like, how about? On the subject too long. Yeah, we've been on this subject a little too long. How about what's the difference between a religious belief and an atrocity?
Like what? Like really? Is there an okayness? What's like the extent to it's okay because it's religion? This is a religious thing. What is the fine line?
Anyone else want to go first?
I have no idea. It's just kind of, I don't know.
You think about how, like, there's the religion of Satan, and that's all about self-indulgence. And under the belief that it's about true freedom, being able to do and be like however you want to be, and that involves like every kind of self-indulgence if that's what you want. But again, it kind of goes back to, is that ultimately what is beneficial for humans as a whole? Or ultimately, will that lead us astray and lead us to develop harmful sciences and whatnot?
So I think my reasoning for what you just said about what do you think is the line between religion and something that should not be done because hey, it's religion. So anything that negatively affects anyone else or the world, I think that would be the definition. So if you want to go around doing, I don't know, you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't affect anybody else or the world. Again, my opinion could change because I could add more things to that, but I doubt those two things that I just came up with are ever going to change because I don't care what religion you follow. I don't care about anything. If you believe that you need to do something, let's go to a radical Islam. If you want, you can do whatever you want. But if you're going to start killing people, if you're going to start enforcing Sharia law, then I don't believe that. I don't care if it's your religious texts. I don't think it should be allowed in any place. It has no place in civilized society. So where I see religion going, I just want to tag this on, is that you'll see in the past that religion has played a very large role. Some of the hugest, whoa, look at that, wars were religious wars. Some of the most mind-blowing architectural accomplishments were done by religion. But people would argue that, okay, well, imagine if we took all that money, all that time, all those resources spent into making that chapel, and actually helped people and helped the continent, or not the continent, but you know what I mean, the kingdom or whatever it would be, the kingdom. So, or look at all these religious wars. If that have killed as many people, imagine if they hadn't happened. Or we still have religious wars going on in modern day. Obviously, they're on an infinitely smaller scale, but they still are religious wars. So where I see religion going is, and I could be completely wrong, this is just a theory of mine, because what you see is you see more and more people every day that say, I think I guess I'm a Christian, or I'm this, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm this religion, or I'm this religion, or I'm this religion, but you see more and more people that are less and less, I want to say, strict. So they won't, like, I would back and think about people I know that don't actually read the holy text of the religion they follow. I see religion in the future, at least if it's going to continue on this current path, slowly fading out of society. So people say that, I think religion's going to die. I think religion's going to go on forever. I think they're both wrong. I think that religion, either new religions will be created and will adapt, or religion will fade out as a whole, slowly fading out until really, instead of religion dying, because I don't think religion's never going to die, it fades out and all religion turn into this one milky mesh because people stop really paying attention. It becomes more of a secondary thing, than a third thing in their mind, then a fourth thing, then a fifth thing, and then it slowly fades out. I think I could see that happening. Again, not the only thing I can see happening, but I think it's a thing that I could see happen.
Well, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie Book of Isaiah. It's basically Denzel Washington going through a Mad Max-esque wasteland, and he basically has the last copy of the Bible in existence. And there's a safe haven on Alcatraz Island where it's basically where all these kind of things from the previous cultures are basically being controlled and just held to archive them. And you find out at the end of the book that the entire Bible is in Braille, and the main character, Denzel Washington, is blind. So it makes it kind of a like Bible-esque kind of film, but And that's kind of one of the things. It's if you don't believe it, it's still something you should still take interest in because it's a part of human nature. And I'm sorry for spoiling the movie, but
Oh, I was really excited.
Stop
to
right there.
watch
Stop. I'm kidding.
oh no. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't believe it, it's still gonna be there. It's still a part of human history, no matter what side of the spectrum you believe it on. It's the same thing with the what was I gonna say? Lost my train of thought. Same thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson made a list of I think it was like the 10 books every intelligent person should read, and some things were like the Bible or like the Quran or these religious texts. Even though Neil deGrasse Tyson himself is an atheist, he still reads these things because it's not just a religion. It's a part of human history, and it's still something that people should look into and not necessarily follow.
I think another thing that I just want to say something that religions did that was actually pretty cool in the past was that during the Dark Ages, which it wasn't bad for everybody, but it was bad for a lot of people.
It was bad for artistic
Hence the name,
endeavors.
The Dark Ages, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the Dark Ages because it sucked.
No, because the sun had actually exploded.
Oh yeah, the sun exploded. Yeah. You know that?
Oh yeah, it's very, very, it's not well known.
Not well known, but the sun exploded during the Dark Ages. So anyways, during the Dark Ages, a lot of seats of power and seats of, governing were actually, and, seats of, hey, you should do this, advisory seats were held by religious buildings. There were safe havens. So these are things that were good. These were good things. Now, unfortunately, religious wars did spark out, but, that's still happening nowadays. As long as religion will exist, I'm pretty sure there will be religious wars. Unless we all magically convert to one religion, which will probably never happen because humans are extremely unique and extremely stubborn and stupid. So that's a good thing that religion did. It provides a place of safe haven and a place where you can be with people that share your beliefs. See, a lot of people there, I talked about another reason other than, I just converted, other than, I converted because I believe this is real. I talked about a reason that, I was born into this is what I know. And, from that could a lot of times spark, okay, I guess I'm said this blank religion, but I don't really read the Holy Script. I don't really do this or that. But I'm completely lost my train of thought. So I guess I'll come back. What was I just saying?
I think that you should make an educated decision before choosing to follow any religious belief. Like, don't just follow blindly because like your family does it or you think you should do it. Just like read up and like make an informed decision.
Yeah, but most people, and I just remembered my train of thought. So I'll just go back to what I was talking about. So they find that a safe haven there. They can say, I'm with people that I can agree with. It's more of a social event than anything else. Even nowadays, it's a lot of people, their religion, maybe they won't say it, but because it's a social thing. And a lot of people, they don't want to go out and see conflict. They want to stay in their little hole where they can be with their close people that share their exact beliefs. And first of all, I completely respect that. Even I absolutely want to be with sometimes with people that, share my beliefs and I can talk to them and, basically just agree. Oh, I agree. I agree too. I agree. Because, that makes you feel good. Hey, look, these people share my beliefs. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm saying that's another reason why religion could be could be fading out, because it's more of a social thing than anything else, a way to get and see people. And like you were just saying, Martin, that's another example of somebody that could, they don't really, make an educated decision. That's not really that much of a problem for me, because that people that really don't make an educated decision, they have a more of a tendency to more stray away from the strict beliefs, and it just becomes more of a social thing.
Well, not everyone has the luxury to make a decision, because some people are born into religion. They are born into a family that is, I don't know, Christian or Muslim or whatever, and then they go to a school that teaches that, and that's all they know their entire life. Maybe they kind of inside know that they don't like it and they want out, or they want something else, but they don't know what it is. Or maybe they just don't know anything else. Get out of my way, because they just weren't taught anything else, because that's all they've known their entire life. So you're right. If someone has the ability, like if they're older and they know, they can do the research, they can read the Holy Script, Bible, the Quran, whatever, and they can realize maybe this is for me or maybe none of this is for me, and that's great. But, some people, just not what they can do, and that's unfortunate.
So, so another example of something that's more, I want to say, extreme than, I was born into this religion, so I follow it, is where Sharia law, it's against Sharia law, punishable by death to leave Islam. So I don't have a choice extends to such a dramatic way of losing your own life. So there would be the example of your family would ostracize. I can't say the word today.
Ostracize.
Ostracize. I can't say that word today. Ostracize you because you left their religion, or there are videos on YouTube, no matter how heartbreaking they are, of somebody coming out as being homosexual to their family, and they would completely say, it's a choice. God didn't make you that way. You're choosing this. You're choosing Satan. You're choosing this, blah, 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 blah. When in reality, as scientific studies have shown, it's not a choice. So, and, there's that extreme, the extreme of leaving the religion, the extreme of, that, and then, there's a huge jump to your own life.
I think in regards to tradition and one of the definitions of cult was it's based on the definition that I found was a particular system of religious worship, especially with reference to its rites and ceremonies. And I think that yes, some people are born into a religion and they're trained that way, they're raised that way, and then they believe that. But at some point, I think, and this is my assumption, but I think at some point we all become aware of our ability to question why and to investigate the truth for ourselves. And at that point, it's vital to do so, or else you're following in the way of your ancestors. You're following rituals that really don't hold any sacred meaning to you personally. It's just you're going through the motions. So I think that especially in this day and age when science has become even more prominent, the same rituals that we followed in the past need to be questioned, and we need to ask why and what, like, why am I doing this? Why do I think this way? And I think with a cult, cults tend to have an emphasis on ritual. And I think that each individual person has the ability to decide their own ritual in a way. And that ritual may not be the same thing every time, but it can be what is important to you at the moment and what is in accord, like alignment with your heart and with what you think is right. But I think we can easily fall into that trap of following a ritual that we don't know why we're really doing it, you know? I think we need to break out of that.
So, unfortunately, and I can't stress that unfortunately enough, a lot of people don't reach that day of I'm questioning my beliefs. So let's use an example of, the reason I'm using a lot of examples from Christianity is because I obviously live in the United States of America, and I live in America, and I'm exposed to those beliefs the most. So let's go to the South, for example. So in the South of America, you'll see a lot of people that never really reach that day of, oh, I think and I would say a lot of people never do, but unfortunately, but in the South, it's much more prominent because almost everybody you know is a Christian.
Yeah, and they're so far separated from, the bulk of society, like the big cities. Like if you've ever been on a road trip and you have to drive through South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia.
Oh yeah, you see billboards.
It's unbelievable.
I don't like being there.
But what's really unbelievable, I mean, it's just how small these communities are, and it really makes you understand why they would believe such extremist things, or they'd be so indoctrinated into their religion. It's all they know. I mean, the closest like strip mall is miles away, and the closest like large city is really far away. So of course this is all they know. So I mean, so it makes sense. I mean, it sucks, but it makes sense.
If you drive through the South, you will see Confederate flags waving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you drive through the South, you'll see Confederate flags waving. You'll see multiple billboards, like back to back, that says, choose heaven, don't choose hell. This is you. Don't be a sinner. Choose God. God is the only way. Praise Jesus Christ. It's insane. And even if let's go to big cities. In big cities, you'll see less of that. Even if they claim to be, I'm blank religion, you'll see much less. I'll use the word again, strictness. They're not as strict. You'll see much less of that because when you go to, so that's why I have another. That's why that reinforces my a belief on that religion. I think will slowly fade out into this sort of milky mesh bowl. But I don't think everyone will just wake up and say religion's dead. I don't think anyone will ever say that.
In regards to like there being rituals in the bigger religions like Catholicism and Judaism, though you have to think like at the time when those religions were forming and really at their peak, the people at that age, do you think those rituals were beneficial to them at that time? But we look at them now and we're like, why are we doing these things? Like Jews don't eat pork, and you have to think, we can eat pork now. It's scientifically, proven to be, fine for the most part. But you have to think like back then, was it a law in that religion because at that time there was a disease rampant in pigs. And so, it was a warning, don't eat this. But yeah, like the rituals involved in religions of past, they don't necessarily apply to us anymore. And I think and they've become cult-like in that sense. And I think that's what we have to like think, why am I doing this? Why is this religion doing this? When it doesn't really make sense with what we know now.
Well, the thing is, religions will get outdated because you're not just going to go and rewrite the Bible or some other holy text. I only know of the Bible, but there's definitely more. But no one could just go and rewrite some kind of holy scripture because it's old. Or they have?
The New Testament.
Oh.
The
Forget it.
Bible has actually been rewritten many times by a whole bunch of different people.
That's why.
Did I said anything?
And I think
I have something to say on the pig matter. What's that ritual? Well, coming from a religion where you can't eat pork, what I've heard is pigs are intelligent and you aren't supposed to eat them. Like, they have above average intelligence than all the other animals.
So I don't have to rely on.
And also, they close your inner eye.
So I don't have to rely on people telling me there's scientific studies that pigs are smarter than. This is true what you're saying. Pigs are smarter than dogs. Pigs are smarter than dogs and cats. Pigs are smarter than toddlers. So yeah, pigs are smart. So yeah, I just want to say that is true.
You could also say in the Hindu religion, they worship the cow because they view the cow as having spiritual qualities. Like, I think the main one is like contentment. So you have to think like, is it like, yeah, does that apply to us anymore? Or is it just a ritual that we had in the past that doesn't have any spirit nowadays?
So, I don't think it's any problem with refusing to eat something that isn't essential to health. So if I refuse to eat pork, I refuse to eat beef, I refuse to eat, all these sorts of things, I don't think it's not really a problem. Again, it goes back to the same thing that I said. That is, I don't think it's a problem unless you're affecting anybody else's right to do things, or you're affecting the world as a whole. It's not really a negative impact if you don't kill and eat that animal. So yeah, I don't think that's as much as a problem. I think, again, it's the problem with religion possibly holding society back, or religion, I just wanted to go to something really quick that we had. Someone commented that all they said was, and this person left a number of comments on certain things. I want to adjust the first thing said. It just said circumcision, and yeah, that's a ritual that is practiced for religious reasons. I believe it originated in Judaism. So, and what it is, if anybody's unfamiliar, is anybody unfamiliar? Because
it's not unfamiliar.
It's irrelevant if anybody else is unfamiliar, because we'll explain it for the benefit of the audience. It's a little bit, gruesome, so tune out if you don't want to hear this. So what happens is, on the penis of a baby boy, there's a bit of skin, and they take it and they cut it off.
You mean circumcision?
Yes, I said circumcision. Yeah, that's what you said.
All right.
So, yes, and that's what happens, and it is, and people would argue that, wow, that's extremely, and there people say that, oh, it's actually cleaner because blah 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 blah. There really haven't really been any scientific studies saying that it's cleaner or not. There really haven't been any scientific studies. It's actually because the foreskin, it does play a part. Every part of the body plays a part. People say, oh, the appendix, it doesn't play a part. It plays a part, okay? There's not going to be an organ that simply does nothing. The appendix, if I'm correct, it houses a reserve of bacteria and disease-fighting cells that will be released at a moment's notice. into the bloodstream to help combat problems. So there's no part of the body that doesn't play a part. And even if it's okay, even if in the end, it really doesn't matter if you're circumcised or not for health reasons as much as it does matter. For what does matter is that you're mutilating a baby boy. You're mutilating a baby boy, and it's extremely painful for them. And is that okay? And it could be, it's going to be slaughtering for them because it's. I mean, you're a baby, and you're there, and then boom, you're getting surgery, minor surgery as soon as you're born. And there are no painkillers for babies, by the way, guys. So when that circumcision happens, if there's a problem with the foreskin when you're an adult, you will get, go to the hospital. They'll give, locational painkillers so you won't feel the pain, where it is. You won't go unconscious, but, you won't feel the pain where the operation is taking place. But they don't have any painkillers for babies. They don't give babies painkillers. So you're just taking scissors and you're cutting this.
Yeah, what's really strange is just how normal part of society that procedure is. Like even outside of that religion, I don't know which one was it where that's like part of it.
Judaism is where it was created. It's practiced largely in I think Catholicism. A lot of people that are Catholics, they say, oh, it's you should be circumcised, but it really didn't originate from there, if I'm correct. But it's practiced very largely in the United States of America. I'm not sure.
I know it's just it's insane how much it's done. It's just this normal thing that everyone defends, but it's awful. It's in America, they started a while back under the impression that it would make teenage men want to masturbate less. Obviously, that didn't work, and that's not the case. So now it's just something that's normal for no reason. For full disclosure, I personally am not circumcised because my parents knew about this and knew that it was, a bad procedure that was done for no reason. So I am happy that I'm not.
Yeah. So it was started in that place, and was brought to America during it was 19 something. And maybe it could have been cleaner in the times where people would die from the common cold. Maybe it was cleaner then.
Yeah.
But, now where we can, wash your hands and flush your human waste down the toilet. And a large amount, I know in America, it's completely unnecessary. And yeah, I guess it could be cleaner, but it's very easy to wash your body. Most people take showers like every day, and you don't even need to take showers every day. Every other day is the ideal amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's insane. It's brought up another thing by religion.
All right.
So that is
all right. I think Max has something to say, so let's let him speak.
I've been holding to this thought for like 10 minutes now, but I was going to say when we were still talking about religious, like deep South religion and religion being kind of slightly less popular nowadays, it's because we're in the information age. I mean, technology is extended to the point where we've put somebody on the moon. We've that was in the 50s, 1960s. That's
the moon. That was 1969.
1969. But like to see that all that code could be done on a mobile device with the same computer, like the equivalent computing power that is just localized, and it's just so easy to access. And the internet being basically the world's most interactive database, it's something to see. It's you hear everybody's voice now. You go to Twitter, and there are people who say what they want, say what they do, and that's fine. I mean, I have no problem against that, but it becomes just something to see. It's a spectacle now. Technology is incredible, and I think that should just be kind of a final thing to end on before we take a break.
So I guess we're going to go to break now. I hope you enjoyed the first part of the show. See you on the next part. Goodbye. Stay tuned.
Spirituality is love and compassion, as far as I'm concerned, and particularly meaning that you are not just being rationally stuck within sort of what you think your body is wired to do. You're going into a deeper area of your mind where you kind of are asserting your free will, really. And you're choosing to be friendly and compassionate with people, whether or not they irritate you or whether or not they've done something to you. You're nevertheless choosing some sort of extraordinary, what we might say extraordinary. It shouldn't be extraordinary. It's actually not really, but we're conditioned to think it's an extraordinary response or outreach to people. And that is spirituality. Spirituality really is touching. And when you do that, and you sort of let go of your sort of self-protective and defensive controls, what you tap into is the nature of the universe, which is the flow of energy interconnecting things. And so then you naturally feel like interconnecting. And spirituality is where you let go, therefore, of your narrow, tight sort of control, identifying yourself just as your body, and I'm holding on to this, and I'm holding on to my chair, and this kind of thing. And that's really what it is. And whereas religion, and it is, of course, the heart of religion, too. But unfortunately, religion has this other component where it goes into, instead of what the sociologists might call pattern transcending activity, or mental activity as well as behavior, it's into pattern maintenance activity. And it becomes a tool of the state and the society and the conventional culture to control people and say you have to do this and you need that ritual and you obey this rule, and it stifles people's spirituality, actually. And in the name of it, people will kill each other and they'll hate people who don't have the same belief instead of being loving and friendly. They will misinterpret, or they'll allow the priesthoods to misinterpret the teachings of the great founders who were truly spiritual and who said, don't behave like that, and they start behaving like that, the Roman Catholic Church. The Catholic part is great, universal, and the Church of Jesus is great, is really great, but the Roman part is the Roman Empire from Constantine, and it's a dominating thing, and it isn't nice. And it's conflicting even for the priesthood. And of course, many of the priests are saintly and wonderful. When they were more great mystics, they were better before the Protestants made them try to be more social, but to compete with them. But they too much adopted the stance of the Roman Empire is the problem. And religions do that. Buddhism too. It becomes a control mechanism rather than a liberating mechanism.
Oh, we're already back? Hello. All right, we're back.
Quick break.
Yes.
Hope you enjoyed the break video. So, unfortunately, Coltrane had to leave, so he won't be here for the second half of the show, unfortunately. But I'm sure we all can see we definitely appreciated him being on this show and having, him here and his opinion. All right, so where did we leave off?
Circumcision.
Yes.
Pleasant topic.
Let's move on from that.
Yeah, let's move on from that. I think we talked about that. Unless anybody wants to say anything, of course, go ahead. But
we ended on technology and how information spreads pretty fluidly through the internet and through how what we've established so far as society goes.
Yeah, I was actually going to, like the point you made earlier that you're talking about, I was going to make a point similar. Like nowadays, like when we were talking about the people in the South and how it's much more difficult for them to break free of like their beliefs and their parents' beliefs, it's slowly becoming easier because unlike many years ago where they just had what their parents and their school was telling them and that's it, now they have the internet. So even in that area, there's like a chance that they will start to break free from it and have a completely different point of view. So that if that holds true in the future, like religion, like Neil was saying earlier, might slowly start to not entirely fade away, but just get different.
Get milky, then really they won't be able to tell the distinction if you look at two people, their religions.
Yeah.
So I think that because I think one of the reasons that religion might be less common, well, not religion, but strict religion may be less common in cities and huge populations. Not saying religion in general. Most of them probably follow religion. I'm saying strict religion, everybody, okay? I'm talking about, how it is in the South. Again, I'm using American Christianity as an example because that's where I am from. This is what I'm familiar with. And it would be unnecessary. It'd just be unnecessary to go somewhere else and talk about it when, it's easier to get the explanation where I am. So, it's because a religion might be less prominent, strict religion might be less prominent in cities due to the fact that, like the internet, information spreads quicker. You have more options. It's not like there's a small little community and everybody is a strict Christian, and if you don't follow that, you're going to be, and I'm going to try to say the big boy word again that I had some trouble with, ostracized. You might be ostracized from that community. Or, not saying I'm not a Christian. That's obviously less of a risk in a big city where there are millions of people. So, also, like you just said, Gavin, you can have the same effect with the internet. The internet can provide the exact same effect as that. So the more the internet spreads, I think more religion will seem to fade out. As I was saying.
I think religious beliefs are changing and will continue to change. I think maybe like organized religion, like churches and gatherings of such strict things, like we have to do everything how our ancestors did it, will change. But I think a lot of religious beliefs will never fade away. Like, not necessarily, religions won't fade away, because I think, I agree with you in that sense, but I think a lot of the views that religions, like a lot of the views of religions will always be there. They just won't necessarily have to go along with all the other things that were important back then.
I think that a lot of the hate that a lot of religions, some religions, promote, they will probably the hate itself will start to fade out, and the more prominent good, because a lot of people, when I was talking about how people aren't really strict, but they normally, if someone were to ask them, oh, what do you believe being this religion is? If they're not, strict, as I said, they'll most likely say, oh, it's about peace and love and doing unto others and blah, 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 little stuff. And while that may not, and if you look at the holy text, it'll say a lot of things. It'll say that, of course, but a lot of things will also be saying that, I'll take an example of Sharia law. Oh, if you're homosexual, you be killed, or, same thing in the Bible. So you got these, same things. I think it'll start to fade out where all the hate that's in religion will start to fade out. And I think religion, we may still have the same labels we have for religion, but they technically won't be the same religions we follow now. I think that's how it will be in the future.
One thing I was going to say was I'm thinking there's just like this separation between society and religion as it is. It's like society has their own progressive and regressive ideas that come and go. And I think religion, since it's more based around tradition, those things hold true. And that's why we had things like a few years ago, we had homosexual marriage being allowed, and something like the church wouldn't agree with that because it's against tradition. That's something that they didn't enjoy. And it's interesting to see because now it seems like some religions have to change to society so they can stay relevant. Because when you don't serve, when you don't make a wedding cake for a gay wedding, it looks really bad. And then you're going to have a lot of people who can communicate with each other massively easily just booing at you consistently, and that's going to make you unpopular. That's how you go out of business, and that's basically how society is going to start going from now on. And religion's probably going to have to follow that, as if you say something or do something really unpopular, you're going to get known as this organization of hate that creates fear-mongering, that creates this idea that it's unacceptable to listen to some of the things that society does, and that also kind of correlates with religious beliefs holding back society. Same thing with like Sharia law. When you mentioned that before, there's been many videos of women and homosexuals who have been killed because of their beliefs. One in specific was somebody basically having an assassination attempt on them because they were a woman and they wanted education, and that was something that's like really powerful to see, because in society today, education is not universal necessarily, but there's public education. No one should be denied the access to education. No one should be just have it removed from them based on one factor that they really can't control necessarily. So it's a very big divide, and that's also where it's more religious. These people are having more control over society, and that's something that if you want a globalist idea of how the world works, you're going to have to change some of these things.
Yeah, I think that is a great point. Highlighting how the religion is gonna, start to, it's gonna change as it has. It's gonna change and it's going to adapt and it's gonna, start to mold to our social values. And I think that's what's gonna happen when I say religion fade out. That's what I mean. I mean that if you were to look at the beliefs of what will happen in the future and the beliefs that we have now, they'll be so different, but they may have the same labels. That's what I mean by fade out. So I want to quickly jump onto something. It's like to some people, do they need religion to to have morals? Do they need them for morals? Is God the only thing keeping them from, if they need that for their morals? And to that I respond that I say to them, because a big argument used against atheists and an atheist community, on YouTube or something, would be, if we want for religion, we go out murdering people and this and this, and see, you want to go murder people? Atheists have no concept of morals, and again, they're a byproduct from our mind. We have higher brain function, which allows us to have empathy. That has nothing to do with religion. Though religion does promote, a lot of religions do promote that sort of thinking. But unfortunately, a lot of religions also promote that thinking while simultaneously telling you to kill people and telling you to torture people. So, yeah, which one would you take? Would you take the religion which has, oh, you can help people do this, oh, but you have to kill these people if they do this? Or would you take, I just want to have love and peace for all people? Yeah, it's a pretty easy choice for me. And to people that actually argue the fact that you don't have morals because of God, I say, so if you knew God didn't exist tomorrow, would you go out killing anybody you could because you just didn't care? I mean, it's pretty insane. And people might argue that by saying, oh, but God does exist. Even if I don't believe in them, that gives me a moral compass. And then I would say, okay, then how are you guiding my moral compass? Because even if I believe in God, God is guiding my moral compass. Therefore, your entire argument is not valid. So that entire argument is just it's just flawed. And it's not as bad as people who actually use it as an attack. Not an attack. I use the word attack as an attack, as in a debate, as an attack in a debate, when really it's just a really flawed stance, and it's just a last resort to say, oh, my religion is valid because of this.
So, when you were talking about that, about, if you didn't know God existed, but this is a reality, of course, but in the television show Preacher, it's a really good show. They did something like, I guess, similar to that. Would you say, Delilah? Is it similar? But it's like they find out that God is just disappeared and nobody knows where he went. And so then, the people in town go kind of crazy after that. And the town explodes. It's not really, but of course this isn't real life, but I can't help. I think that wouldn't happen at all. That's completely insane. But then, some people might think that. I don't know. Do you have anything to say on this, Dwala? No. Okay. Next.
I think that religion, they're like what Martin said in the comments, people use religion as an excuse to justify their hate. And that's something that isn't a part of the religious teachings. It's their own delusions. It's their own justification, which is obviously imperfect. But as far as religion, hold on, let me think. I tend to ask the question of myself, do we need religion, or can we go through life solely on our own, solely on science, pretty much, on science, on what we can observe? And I think that science is the measurement and the observation of material things, but we also have to think about the spiritual qualities that we do have because of our developed brains and our mind. The fact that we are able to perceive things such as morals, I believe, gives us the responsibility of doing our best to follow those. And I think that religion, it brings up another question. Oh, I'm kind of scattered right now, but it brings up another question. Are there prophets or prophets that are divinely ordained with the message of God, or are there just regular humans and no prophets, and the humans come up with the religion and determine what the laws are, what everything is? I think that is a really important question. Like, are there prophets or are there not?
So I think one thing we have to quickly touch on before we talk about that is the fact that, and this could be argued against, the existence of these things even happening. So prophets even existing, or people who have powers like that. All of those things happened when we didn't have huge amounts of information, wealths of knowledge, and really cool stuff like cameras. Because nowadays, if somebody says, "Oh, I saw this enlightened being called," we'll call them Billy Bob. I saw this enlightened being called Billy Bob, and they were he was spreading the teachings of the religion called
Bobism.
Keyboard. He was spreading the religion teachings of the mouse and keyboard religion. So nowadays, what somebody would say? They'd say, "Prove it. Give me a picture. Give me a video. You know what? How about this? How about you buy me a ticket and fly me over to wherever you are? I'll see them for myself." See, it's all those big, cool, awesome, magical miracles all happened a lot in the past. Because, and a lot of people would argue that
Scientology.
and a lot of people would argue that the reason that is because we have something called burden of proof now. So, but a lot of people would argue that, and I just want to touch really quick on what could be. Again, I don't really have any per se beliefs. I just, I don't know. But a thing that could be is that we all, we were just there, and we are here to experience what we can, or we're here for no reason, or maybe because people ask you, okay, what is the meaning of life? I don't think there could be no goal. Maybe our primitive brains are not capable of understanding the fact that there is a goal or there's not a goal. Maybe our primitive brains can't understand the meaning, or maybe our primitive brains they can't comprehend the fact that there doesn't have to be meaning.
So what you said about my counter to the what she said about the miracles in the past, really one of the counters to that is Scientology. And they just, from what I understand, it's sort of when you get to those higher levels, get that back up there, you need to listen to my voice. When you get to the higher levels, it's like a promise that you'll see them sometime in the future. So I guess that's what keeps people around, but it's kind of crazy. I don't really want to offend anyone, but I don't think anyone's going to be offended by me saying Scientology is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Scientology is more of a cult than anything else, because you hear stories about when people leave, bad stuff.
Yeah, there are many interesting documentaries about it.
Yeah, I saw one. It's really cool. But I think actually Scientology, it actually enforces my point, because Scientology is very enclosed, very, very, very enclosed, very secretive. So I think, if anything, Scientology supports my argument that you're seeing less and less, I want to say, miracles, because we have burden of proof due to the fact that Scientology, because the outside world, a lot of Scientology, even you just said, Scientology seems, oh, this is crazy, this is insane. And the only people that know these miracles are people at the very, very, very top. And guess what? They're guarded by secrets. Everybody's guarded by secrets. Even the lowest level people are guarded by secrets. Therefore, so they're literally the miracles that are happening are the ones guarded where they can't be burden of proof. Their beliefs. So that really just supports my claim that this is so. But again, I could be wrong, and I think that there are people that have such a high understanding that they're just walking and they're just in pure bliss because they understand. They understand, and I don't know what they understand because I don't understand. So they maybe they understand that there doesn't have to be a goal, there doesn't have to be meaning to life, there has to be this, there doesn't have to be this, or maybe they understand that God exists. Who knows? But you know what? It would be awesome to be one of those people, to be in pure knowing, because humans crave knowledge. At least I do. I want to know.
I mean, one of the things I put a lot of thought into was what happens after death if there is no heaven or there's no spiritual place to go. And that's just kind of something that really boggles my mind. And when you say the dark ages, whereas a lot of people are in poor conditions, poor health, and they're dying from these diseases they don't know, they think it's a demon. They think it's the work of Satan. They think it's somebody or something of a higher power, because they don't understand science. They don't understand technology. They don't understand STEM as a whole. They only know what people are willing to really perceive. And that's kind of something that I've been thinking a lot about was, what if religion was created to soften the idea of death or to soften the idea of the unknown? I know we kind of really talked about that at the beginning, so.
I think it was created because of that, because people, they need to know, they want to know. Again, I just said that. And since they didn't have the means, I think that might be, whether religion is right or wrong, because if one religion is right, I believe all the other ones were created because of that. So.
I mean, what happens after death, though? I mean, what does everyone think happens when you die?
That is one of the most amazing things that I've ever thought about, because here's the most amazing thing. It's after all this time, one of the biggest questions in human history.
Martin wants to say something.
What happens? What?
I think Martin might want to say something. He has an opinion.
Oh yeah, sure. Just let me just finish, and then I know Martin wants to talk. One of the biggest, if not the biggest question in human history. What happens when we die? Is there something else? What created us? And yet, after all this time, after all that, and probably being the biggest question, after all the side of marvels we have, and all the big questions that we've wanted answered, the beautiful thing, that's the one we cannot put a definite answer on, and that is amazing.
Yeah, because everyone who knows the answer is dead.
Yeah, I haven't died before. Anyway, Martin, you wanted to talk, and I know Leandros wanted to talk.
I think religion is important, especially like the life after death thing, because it gives a lot of people hope. And because that's a scary thing, especially if you're in a situation where you might die. It helps a lot of people. And even if it isn't true that there's life after death, we don't know, obviously. But I think it's important because it gives a lot of people hope. And hope's a pretty powerful thing, because if you can have hope, you can feel better about life in general.
Do you want to say something, Leandros? I thought you just...
No, I'm good.
I'll say something. I think the idea of death is a little bit irrelevant because irrelevant regarding religion, because religion is about how we can live now and not in the belief that life is eternal. So if we're bad now in this life, it's going to come back to us. We can't escape it by dying. But I think that religion is mostly for how we can live right now so that we benefit for it later in the eternal existence, whatever that may be. But there is an eternal existence because there's infinitude. It's a scientific fact. There's infinitude, and that means there's eternity. And how we exist in that eternity has yet to be determined, and we won't know until we're there. But we can come to the conclusion that there is eternity.
So I think that, in our definition, in our in the majority of humanity's current definition of life after death, who knows if it exists? But there is, like you just said, something that happens. And what happens is, even if our consciousness is only in our brains, because when we think about afterlife, it's normally we think about consciousness in our brains. But really, matter, it doesn't get destroyed. It's just redistributed. So even if Earth is destroyed, the sun has a supernova or something.
I think I'm getting a little bit off track.
What?
I think I'm getting a little bit off track.
I don't think so because we're just talking about life after death, and that's something about religion. So as I was saying, there is something that happens after we die, whether or not we're conscious of it. At least in our current understanding of consciousness, who knows? And that is amazing. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. Again, back to those people who are so-called enlightened. Maybe they know, maybe they're just taking comfort in the fact that they don't need to know, and they're just like, wow, this is so beautiful and majestic. That's pretty cool.
One of the things I was going to say was, speaking of the life after death, with Christianity in specific, it's kind of a reward for being of good values and being loyal to a God. And so I think the idea is you don't necessarily have to enforce the idea that you have to live this way through a religion, but it's something that Dustin said was it's like a muscle. You have to look at these morals, and you have to look at it, and you have to say, I'm going to do this, and this, all this stuff every day so I can strengthen myself morally. And it's difficult. One of the stories that Benjamin Franklin actually wrote was about something very similar to what I have hands-on experience with, which is just like a list of morals, and he says that it's a list of morals to achieve perfection as a mortal being. And he says at the end of it, it's basically he tries for a few weeks and then he says he can't do it because it's impossible. It's one of the sayings, the man who never smoked, drank, or had sex was healthy until the day he killed himself.
Oh yeah, it's actually pretty hilarious. So, I think that the thing you were talking about, Christianity, it's, being loyal to, your God, and, you're rewarded. But if you really study Christianity, it's actually, because the reason I reject a lot of traditional afterlife things is that it's pretty immoral. So I'll just use Christianity as an example. Again, I use the same justification that I did last time. It's what I'm most familiar with, so it's easy for me, and it'd be unnecessary to go into another one for a specific topic. So it says in the Holy Text that if you accept Jesus Christ at any time in your life, you are a Christian and you will die and you will go to heaven. So this can be a bit of a, I want to say, uneasy topic. So if you don't like it or you get uncomfortable, you should probably tune out. We're going to go to a scene. So Jim and Jane, this is coming with random names, are walking down the street. And Jim is a Christian. Jane, she doesn't really know what she is. She doesn't really accept Jesus Christ. In this potential universe, Christianity is the one true religion, but of course nobody knows that, as they don't now. So, and then we'll call this person Jonathan. Jonathan walks up and was like, "Hey, how's it going? Give me your money or I'll shoot you right in your face with a gun." And so, yeah, Jonathan, he seems pretty immoral, right? Well, so Jim, they both get shot. In short, they both get shot. And Jane dies of her injuries right there and then. And Jim survives and Jonathan escapes. Jonathan, by the way, there's a much more dramatic version of the story where Jane could get raped, okay? So it's the same concept. I'm not going as dramatically into it, okay? But Jonathan, again, Jim's a Christian, but Jonathan accepts Jesus Christ on his deathbed. So the end is Jane goes to hell. Jonathan who accepted Jesus Christ on his deathbed goes to heaven with Jim, and Jim gets to spend the rest of eternity with Jonathan, the person who murdered, and if you want to go with the more severe version of the story, raped his partner. And will they be mad at each other? No, because in heaven, everybody's happy and there's just love. That takes away free will. And that, to me, that's very immoral, and that's a scary possibility.
Well, if I could say one thing before you talk, Dust, in the Buddhists, what Buddhists believe in is when you go to the hell, you get punished in a fair way. You stay there for a certain amount of time, and you get reincarnated as, you move up in the chain again. You get the proper punishment, and I could see I don't really understand why it's perfectly moral to send people to hell as God, if God is the ultimate moral
No, my
authority.
point wasn't to moral to send people to hell. It's immoral to send that person to hell just because she didn't have evidence to believe in that, and she was shot on the scene.
Well,
and let's say she was shot in her throat, so she couldn't accept Jesus Christ on her deathbed.
Yeah, that was a bit of a... Yeah, so I feel like I'm going to offend someone, but I'm just going to say that I don't think it's really moral to even have a hell. As weird as that might sound, I know that's going to offend somebody, but if someone gets sent there incorrectly, you know, over a misunderstanding or something, then it's it could send. It's not really, I'm just rambling. Uh, Whoever best you go next.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is that heaven and hell, it's not always black and white.
Yeah.
I think that's an important concept in this day and age, is that heaven and hell isn't a black and white concept. Just because we might be sent to hell doesn't mean that we can't still do good and go to heaven. It's not like we're condemned for eternity. We still have that free will. Just like if we were to be in heaven, if we were to be in this perfect place of joy and love and all these, everything wonderful that we know of, we still have the choice to reject that and to turn away from that. And personally, I think that heaven and hell are states of being, and that's why it's not black and white, because you at a moment's notice you can turn away from the light, and that to me is like being in hell, because it's like you're not feeling joy, you're not feeling love, you're not feeling any of these wonderful emotions, you're not feeling any of these wonderful states of being. But in another instant, I can turn towards the light and I feel this stuff, and I feel content and I feel satisfied. I feel like I'm on purpose. Life seems to be clear. And I think if the afterlife is anything like this life, then we'll still have that choice.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
I believe that the idea of hell itself is not immoral, because if somebody is a genuinely horrible person, regardless of their religious beliefs, and they go to hell for a certain amount of time, I don't believe that's necessarily immoral. So if there's torture or something involved, it's probably immoral. But if it's something, I guess it would be torment either way, but more of a pondering upon what you have done and appropriate consequences upon what you have done. But nobody I believe in human history deserves to be in hell for an eternity. An eternity compared to killing everybody, every being, every human, every animal on the planet. Everything on the planet is nothing compared to spending an eternity in hell. I cannot stand how loosely some religions throw around the word eternity. They throw it around so loosely when eternity is such an insane and amazing thing. And the fact that you're saying they will be in hell for an eternity, it's pretty darn scary right there. And it's also extremely immoral. But again, but heaven, for me in Christianity, that would be almost like a hell, because it's the fact that and you feel no other emotion than love. You like love. You are just feeling love. And it's insane because that takes away your free will. At least in hell, Christianity's version, of course, at least in hell, at least you have freaking free will and free thought in hell. So,
I mean, you think about if life were a canvas, life is like a canvas. It's like a piece of paper. It's all white. And you only are able to see the writing and the drawings when you add a value to that, when you add a shade of color. Oops, close out this thing. So what am I trying to say? So in regards to one person's idea of heaven could be another person's hell, you think as far as like material images, yeah, one person could find great joy in, I don't know, jumping off a cliff without a parachute. And I don't know, just a weird example. And then another person could think, that's the scariest crap, and I'm never going to do that. But you have to think about what the underlying feeling is. And I don't think love is an emotion. It's rather a state of being. It's rather love is the motion that allows everything to happen. It allows free will to happen. So yeah, I don't really know how I'm going to wrap this up. I guess that's it.
One of the things I wanted to say was, where does it say that if you go to heaven, you lose all forms of emotion?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's written in the Bible about it, but do we really know what heaven is like? I mean, you're kind of explaining heaven. I sort of guess there's this general idea that heaven's like this infinite field of flowers that's all like love and happiness, and that's eternity. But maybe that's not necessarily it. It's more like you have your own heaven and you choose what happens, and it's what would make you happy forever.
Yeah, like what if heaven's like Pittsburgh, and hell's like Detroit? Come on.
All right.
Well, I'll have you know that Detroit is a wonderful city, okay? Hashtag visit Detroit today, all right? Book your plane ticket, 50% off.
There's also, I think, a difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions are the chemical interactions in our body, and feelings are, I don't know, I have a hard time describing feelings, but I think they're different. And I think if you imagine a heaven, it's not with the emotions, it's with the feelings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't know, this goes back to the afterlife discussion, but like kind of how I feel about afterlife. I'm not Christian, so I don't align with the heaven hell argument. I just feel like you just move on to the next life, probably. You leave this, and then you become someone else, and you live that life. Because I don't understand how there has to be an afterlife. What's the alternative? It's just black forever. There's nothingness for all eternity.
I think something interesting is that, because obviously I'm pretty, so one of the very interesting things is, when people imagine not existing, they imagine black, as you just said, some people. So I think what's really interesting, and even though maybe because you also have to understand that maybe our consciousness doesn't define what we exist. Maybe even if an atom from our being is there, that we existed there. Maybe our limited minds are just like, oh, consciousness must be me. So, there's that. But also, let's imagine for a minute that consciousness is, being. And if we have no consciousness, it's just, there's no words to explain it. But you know what I mean? So a lot of people, they imagine black. But one of a terrifying, and for some people, though, almost amazing thing is that there is no black, because there is no you to perceive the black. There is no you to perceive the color. There is no nothing, because there's nothing. You can't imagine nothingness. Your brain is not capable of imagining nothingness and not existing. You will imagine black, or you will try to imagine something, but you can't imagine something because there is nothing, because you can't perceive anything.
Right.
Mind blown.
Right, because nothing doesn't exist. It's nothing. Go on.
One of the things I wanted to touch upon was, what are your thoughts on like tribal religions, like Native American religions, or like spirituals where they have like shaman, and then people who are of higher belief, such as like the Aztecs?
I think it's every culture has their religion, like Christianity, pretty much all of them, all of the big world religions come from the Middle East. But yeah, every culture has their own religion, their own moral conduct, their own ideals to strive towards. and possibly their own profits. So I think they're not really any different than the big world religions, you know. It's just a different structure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much of a difference there. I think it's just that some are more prominent than others. Yeah, there's not really a difference there. Yeah. Unless, because now you will see probably that there will be more similarities between major world religions and less similarities between those religions because people would tend to, lean towards these values, and these religions have these values, these religions didn't. I'm not talking about good and bad. I'm talking, values in general that aren't just good and bad. So you'd obviously see some differences, but the differences are only because these religions are the religions we have now. The major world religions have similarities, not because they're technically different.
Have you ever heard about the religion of the people? Have you ever heard about the people who worship Prince Albert? Yeah, it's really interesting. They regard him as a god, and he has and they have women who were supposed to be his wives, but those women are allowed to have their own families and do their own thing, while waiting for him. If he's exchanged letters and such. They've sent him things. He's sent things back. I find that really interesting. I don't know where you can find the documentary, but it is something that you should probably look up. It's really interesting.
So, unless anybody has anything to say on unless anybody else has something to say on what we just talked about, or something else to say, maybe we should do closing notes. And maybe that should be revolve around maybe I think we're talking about where do you see religion going, but what is your opinion on religion in general? Should it exist? Should it not exist? Is it for good? Is it not good?
All right. I feel the general underline, the bottom line of most religions is good. The treat others as you like to be treated. I guess most of the 10 Commandments, that's good. The way it's been warped by society nowadays and the bad parts of it, the Old Testament, the oppression from Sharia, that's the bad part, and that sucks. But so it could be good, but it's not great nowadays. So I don't know. It's complicated. It should be good.
Yeah. Religion is complicated, and I guess that's my closing note. And I do think a religion should exist. I mean, while it might not be the best thing, some religions might not be good, some might be. I don't know. I mean, really, but I do think that they should exist. And, they really, some of the time, well, most of the time, I guess. No, wait. I don't know how I should put this, but religion helps people most of the time, but it's bad when it's just forced upon. You really gotta know, as people have said earlier, you gotta really know what what religion is. You gotta know what your religion is. Look up it. Deval, you wanna have your closing note? You agree with everything, or do you wanna? All right. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think as long as someone else's opinion isn't directly affecting you, that you should respect everyone else's opinion. Unless they're directly attacking or affecting someone else or yourself, you should respect everyone else's opinion.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of the times we really don't know what's going to happen, whether or not there is a God. So you should just respect everyone else's opinion on things.
Yeah.
My concluding thoughts, I guess, are that ultimately science and religion are in agreement when they are both following fact. And I think that religion can follow fact because it's based on the ideals of what a human being can be. And science is the observation of matter. And science without religion turns into materialism. Religion without science turns into dogma. And ultimately, they're two wings of one bird. And I think that all of the qualities that we as humans idealize and strive to be, they're all rays from one sun. And ultimately that sun is one entity, and which is why I think all religions are connected and ultimately one.
Sorry for that short interruption of mine, but I was going to say that religion is an important part of human history, as it is influenced by many. It influences many things, and then it just kind of comes together as the existence of humans. You don't see this with animals. You don't see this with anything else. It's unique to us because we have a conscience. We have our own well-being and beliefs. That's really it for mine. I'm sorry, that was a little rushed.
So I guess with religion, I don't really think religion is necessary in our day, in this way. And I think in a lot of ways, it is holding society back. I don't think we need it because we really don't know most things. So yeah, I don't really think we need it. And and a beautiful thing that we can use to discuss and debate and find the truth is free speech. So if you don't think somebody is, so that's the most beautiful thing. I love free speech rules. So yeah, I don't think religion is necessary. I don't think, and obviously it's part of human history, I don't think we need it nowadays, and because we don't know, and that's just a means of knowing that, frankly, I think it's a bit outdated. So thank you for watching Youth on Subjects of the World. Everybody will now cheesily wave goodbye.
Bye.
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 See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire: the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.